In this section, we are going to talk about soil testing and specifically soil sampling. What is soil sampling? Soil sampling is taking a sample of the soil to act as a representative of the soil in a particular field. There are two common methods used in soil sampling. One is the zigzag method and the other one is the transverse or the diagonal method. In the zigzag method, samples are taken in a zigzag or a Z pattern way. For instance, one can be taken on this side, another one on this side, quarter the distance of the field, another one, half the distance of the field, 3/4 distance of the field, and the last one at the far end of the field. The other method is the diagonal or the transverse method. In this method, you establish the four ends of the farm, and then diagonal or transverse lines are run from one corner to the other, and the same should be done from one corner to the other. Samples should be taken along the diagonal lines of this farm. For accuracy, ropes can be used in marking of the diagonal lines. The zigzag method is preferred in small tracts of land, while the transverse or the diagonal method is preferred in the large tracts of land. While doing the soil sampling, some areas are considered unfit or unusual areas to pick your soil samples. These areas include recently fertilized land, or where we had previous compost piles, land that has been plowed using a disc or a chisel plow, marshy areas along the footpath, near the fences, or areas under or near a tree. Along the footpath, the soil has been compacted and therefore very difficult to pick any soil sample. Along the fence lines, or near or under a tree, there is a microclimate and the soil happens to be fertile with a lot of organic matter, so they may not give a good representative of the field. In a recently fertilized or compost applied area, these areas are not going to give the actual or real statistics of the soil. In areas where disc plow or a chisel plow has been used, you find that there is a lot of disturbance, especially displacement of the topsoil. Other areas not suitable for sample taking are areas where plants have been planted. Fertilizers could have been used either at planting time or at top dressing time, and they will distort the results. Ideal areas for sample taking: undisturbed land. Another one is land that has been plowed using a jembe because they cause minimal disturbance or displacement of the topsoil. The tools used for soil sample include a soil auger. In absence of a soil auger, a jembe can be used. We need a bucket, a sack, a cloth, a pen, and a tag. The part of the soil auger that goes to the ground has a standard measure of 20 centimeters. To collect or to take the soil sample, the soil auger should be driven to the ground in a clockwise direction, and in order to collect or to pick the soil sample, the soil auger is driven out in an anti-clockwise direction. The bucket should be very near so that after collecting the sample using the soil auger, the soil is placed in a bucket. Make sure we don't lose any soil for sampling process. In the absence of a soil auger, a jembe is used. A standard jembe should have a blade size of 20 centimeters. In order to collect a sample, we dig 2 jembes deep. For coffee, tea, and other fruit crops, we collect samples much deeper, up to 50 centimeters deep. The sack is used for mixing of the soil in order to achieve a homogeneous mixture. The sample collecting bag is used to place the soil sample in order to be taken to the laboratory. The tags are marked using a pencil or a permanent marker in order to identify the farm or the owner of the farm and the date the sample was collected. The soil collected in different sample areas is placed in a sack. Pebbles and large sods of soil are removed. Later, the soil is mixed into a homogeneous mixture. The soil is divided into 4. 2 opposite quarters are eliminated. The soil is later mixed again into a homogeneous mixture, divided into 4, and later 2 opposite quarters are removed. This process should be continued until we get a sample size of about 500 grams. In undisturbed land, the area marked for soil sampling should be measured and demarcated, and the surface vegetation removed. The number of samples to be collected will depend on the size of the field. Experts recommend about 9 samples in an acre of land. In this area, which is recently plowed using a jembe, and about half an acre, we are going to collect 5 samples.
Next, we are going to look at the lab test costing. In the lab, we usually have 2 methods of testing your soil. The true analysis method, we have the wet analysis and we also have the dry analysis. Wet analysis is where they take the sample, the soil sample, then they dissolve it in acid. The dry analysis is when they use UV light to analyze the soil sample. And here, the wet analysis is most popular because it gives inaccurate most of the parameters that are to be tested. And to just get a sample of how the test is costed, we have here some of the parameters that are tested, and you can be able to see we have pH, and the costing is in dollars, which costs roughly $1. The texture, testing for the texture class, around $2. Then we have the nitrogen and phosphorus, which is tested, and the cost takes around $3. Carbon, $3. And then we have the micronutrients, including potassium, which costs roughly $2 each. Then we have aluminium. Aluminium needs more time because it needs around 6 weeks. When testing is done for without the aluminium, you're going to find within 2 weeks you get your test results, but aluminium needs minimum 6 weeks. But this is in the form of the heavy metal. The heavy metals usually takes more time, and therefore it needs $5. Sampling cost will cost you around $10, but if your farm is far, there will be more transport costs, and therefore these costs may increase. But on general scale, we use $10. Sample preparation cost takes around $2. And in total, if the sample that you have taken to the lab, you are going to test all these parameters, is going to cost you around $54. And here, what we are looking at is, or what you can deduce from here is, the more the parameters, it will mean the more costly your lab test will be. This is just a sample of what to be tested, but if maybe you are not testing for heavy metal, it will be $10 less the 54, and therefore that is generally the costing of a soil sample.